So you're at a budget and you're looking for a car, well, with 4 wheels, and you want something that's not a little bit too common, something that can give you a little bit more creature comforts. Then Changan has a car for you. This one right here is the Changan Alsvin in this top-of-the-line trim Platinum. A subcompact car that it may look a little bit familiar, but it still gives you a little bit more creature comforts compared to the competition. Today I'm going to show you around this car and I'm also going to give it a test drive, so stay tuned. The front fascia of the Changan Alsvin, it's kind of odd, but in a good way. So if you take a look at the Changan badge, it really does look like an inverted Acura badge. But if you look at the grille of the Alsvin, it looks like the spindle grille that Lexus uses. So that's just something interesting that I wanted to point out. Anyway, the grille itself is a mixture of chrome and piano black. The headlights on this one, they are your usual projector halogen lights. But down below, instead of like having turn signals or whatever, Changan decided to give you DRLs right there, which are LEDs, and they look pretty nice. Aside from that, the front is rather basic, just 2 lines on the hood, and that is pretty much it. The profile of the Changan Alsvin unfortunately does suffer from the typical bloating effect that you will get with most subcompact sedans because of just how short and, well, kind of narrow they are. However, they do still give you some lines over here which are quite interesting. So you do have this one line from, well, the rear door all the way to the front, but then on the rear door you get another line just below it, which just starts from the rear door all the way towards the back of the car. You got an extra like dent down below, like a character dent, I guess. You got tiny 15-inch rims on this one, wrapped in 185/515 tires, so they are quite narrow. And you also get repeaters on your wing mirrors, plus also a camera over there, which I'll talk about later. At the back of the Alsvin, there's not that much styling cues over here, but you do get rather big tail lights. You also get fog lights built into those tail lights, reflectors down below, and also reverse sensors. And there is also a reverse camera over here, which is pretty nice. Platinum badge, and if you open up your trunk, you're looking at 382 liters of space, and you also get a donut space saver spare tire. Unfortunately though, the rear seats can't fold down, so you're pretty much stuck with 382 liters. Powering the Changan Alsvin is this 1.5-liter naturally aspirated gasoline engine making 107 horsepower and 145 newton meters of torque. What's quite interesting about this is that despite this being a budget car and a city cruiser, Changan decided to give you a 5-speed wet clutch dual clutch transmission. Pretty cool. Anyway, another thing though, that if you look at the brochure of Changan, only this Platinum trim gets an engine cover, so that is just mind-blowing. Inside the interior of the Changan Alsvin, check the door first. It sounds just about alright. It's not the best, but it's not really bad either. And inside the car, well, you can't really expect much at its price range, so the use of soft touch materials is pretty much non-existent. The steering wheel is not even leather wrapped, but it has this somewhat of a soft touchy feeling to it, which is kind of odd, but I kind of like it. The steering column is only tiltable, not telescopic, but the steering wheel itself, it has multifunction. So on your left side you get cruise control, and on the right side you have a button here to activate the camera on your right side wing mirror. That way you won't curb your wheels, but you can also activate it below 30 kilometers per hour by turning on your right turn signal. Your instrument cluster is pretty much very basic, so you get a really big speedo in the middle, then 2 digital screens on the sides, but that's pretty much it. You get the screen in the middle that is touchscreen and moderately responsive. The graphics aren't exactly the best, but it is usable. But most importantly, it does come with a reverse camera with swiveling lines too, which is pretty rare in this price range. I love that. The center stack, some piano black on it, some faux carbon fiber. You have this blue thing on it, which is kind of weird because that reminds me of a Toyota Prius. So yeah, it looks like a hybrid despite this car not being a hybrid. You get these AC settings right here. It looks like it's climate controlled because of this AC knob, but it really isn't. It's just a basic AC system. The seats are part leather and also part cloth. While they are okay in terms of comfort, I do find thigh support to be a little bit lacking. So longer journeys, maybe not the best, but they are both manually adjustable for the driver's side and the passenger side. 2 cup holders in the middle and a jug holder on the side. Oh, the shifter. Yes, so the shifter is pretty basic, but you do get manual mode, which is kind of interesting. You get a USB port and a 12-volt outlet. Finally, what really differentiates this car from a lot of the competition is that this car even comes with a sunroof. The rear of the Alsvin, door thread check. Yeah, it sounds better than the front, but overall it's just about all right. The back seats of this car, it's set up in this like bench setup, and the seats are okay in terms of comfort, but as with the front seats, I do find thigh support to be a little bit lacking. Legroom is great though, and even headroom is pretty good no matter how tall you are. And you'll notice back here, it's quite interesting that the back of the front seats, while they don't have anything, they're cloth, so it's just a nice like material pair. Anyway, headrests are fixed, no other toys back here, just one jug holder on the side. And if you want to seat 3 people, it is actually doable because despite the car being rather narrow, the door cards are pretty thin and the seats are pretty thin. So you do have space back here, and the floor is also flat. Now we drive the Changan Alsvin in this platinum trim, and this car, well, it's pretty much what you would expect with a car of its price, the typical subcompact. So you know that the suspension in these cars, they are tuned to be very comfort oriented, very great for the city. Even if you go through like potholes and speed bumps, and this one rougher roads, it's very disconnected feeling. It's not supple in any way, it's not very communicative, which is a good thing, at least when it comes to those speed bumps. Unfortunately though, the suspension means that it's tuned very soft as well, so it doesn't like corners, but it's not supposed to take corners in the first place, which means that it's totally fine. Power in this car comes from that 1.5 liter engine, and it feels like if you've driven like an older naturally aspirated diesel engine, it kind of feels like that, wherein you get so much low down torque, like when you step on the throttle, it really hits you hard, and it almost immediately tapers off and only pretty much comes back when you are going pretty high up in the rev range, which is, yeah, it's just something that will probably shock you at first. What the Changan Alsvin doesn't really like to do though is go fast, because I mean, the engine wise, yes, it has enough pep to get you up to speed eventually, but when you do go up on the slightly higher speeds, maybe even above 40-50 kilometers per hour, there is a significant amount of tire noise that does enter the cabin. But that is probably due to the fact that this car is running on the most eco tires that you can think of. However, due to the size of this car, it means that city maneuvering is so dead easy because it's just so small, it's so tiny. You can like do a lot of U-turns with this one, even if the streets are tiny. No problem with the Changan Alsvin. Fuel economy though, not bad. Actually, it is pretty good inside the city. You're doing 13 kilometers per liter. This is with moderate traffic. It's really in between the moderate light and the moderate heavy, so dead moderate. But when you do go on over to the highway, since the engine, yeah, it doesn't really like to go that fast, you do have this tendency of having to rev it a little bit more, so fuel economy isn't the best, and you only get around 16 kilometers per liter on the highway. Steering in the Alsvin is also definitely tuned for a city type of driving because it's incredibly light, it's incredibly disconnected. I mean, you can turn this steering wheel with like one finger. It just is easy to maneuver, but yeah, when you do go up over to higher speeds, it really does tighten up a little bit. Not the most tight, but it tightens up a little bit, which means that it's not scary even on the highway. For some strange reason, despite this being a more budget-friendly car, Changan decided to stick a dual clutch transmission in this car. Does it work? Okay, let's floor it right now. It's going up in revs, and then yeah, it's about all right. When you're going really high up in the rev range and it upshifts, it's pretty fast. But for your daily driving, it doesn't really feel like a dual clutch. It functions more like a conventional automatic transmission. There seems to be a little bit of a power loss in between gears. So yeah, it's not really a dynamic feeling transmission. Finally, we talk about pricing, and the Changan Alsvin Platinum comes in at 739,000 pesos, significantly undercutting its mainstream Japanese rivals. And this car, who do I think is it for? It's for those people looking for familiarity with a car with driving dynamics very similar to the long-standing subcompact sedan of a Japanese brand, well, the Toyota Vios, but still want some added niceties in a car, such as reverse cameras, that blind spot monitor camera, and also a sunroof. So if you have less than 800,000 pesos for your budget and you're looking for a car that can get you from point A to point B comfortably with not much frills but with just some added niceties, then the Changan Alsvin Platinum is a car for you to consider.